The title to this video is called Introduction to Solving an Equation with Parentheses. Basically, it takes into account the fact that you should know how to solve just a two-step equation already. If you haven't learned how to solve a one-step equation and then a two-step equation, go back and learn how to do those unless you're feeling pretty, math savvy. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with an equation that has parentheses, and we're going to get it down to a two-step equation, and then we're going to solve that two-step equation at that point. So let's just dive right in. Let's say that we have 2 times 2x plus 9 equals 50. So probably one of the most solid ways to solve these equations when they have parentheses is to kind of just take a gander inside and look at what's inside the parentheses. Can these guys be added together? That's what you want to ask yourself. And the answer is a no. We have the 2 with an x attached and the 9 does not have an x. So they can't be added. That means that we need to find a different way to get rid of the parentheses. And the way that we do that is through something called distribution. Distribution means that we take this outside 2 and we're going to multiply it by the 2x. And we're also going to take this outside 2 and multiply it by the 9. And we're going to keep them separated by the plus sign inside. Can't just drop that. So let's go ahead and do that. 2 times 2x, that will give us 4x. There's our plus sign that's inside the parentheses. And then we do 2 times 9, which is 18. We're copying the equal sign and the 50. And now, like I kind of mentioned a few seconds ago, we have what I call your typical two-step equation. Almost everything you do when you solve equations will end up in this format. Two-step because, we call it a two-step because we have addition and we have multiplication, and we need to undo them one at a time. So what we're going to do is we'll start with undoing any addition or subtraction that we have. We have addition of 18, so we undo addition by subtracting it. What we do to one side of the equation, we need to do to the other. So before we rewrite, let's double check we have a positive 18 minus 18. That goes to 0. That's what we wanted to have happen. We're just kind of double checking that's exactly what occurred. So we have 4x equals 50 take away 18. That will give me a 32. Now I have one last step to take care of. The 4 is multiplying with the x. We undo multiplication with division, and we show that with a fraction bar. So we have the 4 dividing with the 4. That cancels out or reduces down to 1. We can write it as 1x if we want. We could just write it as x if we want. Doesn't matter. 1x equals 32 divided by 4 will give us an 8. If we want to double check our answer, what we can do is take our original equation and we can see if it does equal 50. We have an x value here. We now know that x is 8. So if we plug in 2 times 8 plus 9, we can evaluate this through order of operations and see if it equals 50. So let's do that. We're going to leave the 2 outside. Inside we need to do multiplication. 2 times 8 is 16. We still need to finish up the numbers in the parentheses. 16 plus 9 is 25. And then finally 2 times 25 does give us 50. So we do know that we got the right answer. Let's try another one. Let's try, let's see, 3 times 3u minus 5 equals 12. Again, we can look at the equation, look inside the parentheses. Can the 3u and the 5 be subtracted? No, one has a u, one does not. So that eliminates that. That means that we need to we need to remove these parentheses by distributing. That means multiplying through. 3 times 3u, that's 9u. Bring down that minus sign that's there. And then we have 3 times 5, that will be 15. We're right at the basic two-step equation. We handle that by undoing any adding or subtracting. We're going to undo subtraction here. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So you want to double check as you're crossing it out. Did that go to 0? Yeah, negative 15 plus 15, it went to 0. That's perfect. We're slowly getting everything away from the u so that it can be all by itself. The last thing we need to kick out from the u's spot is the 9. The 9 is multiplying. We undo multiplication by division. Those cancel out to 1, leaving us with the plain u. And 27 divided by 9 will give us 3. So I think one of the things about this is that if you are good at those two-step equations that you've learned previously, this is just a little layer on top of that. I don't think most people find it too intimidating, mostly because, I don't know, I think it's just multiplication. There's an order to it, and then you're left at the two-step equations, which most people do really well with. Let's try this guy. 2 times 4u minus 9 equals 17. Okay, so again, we look inside the parentheses really quickly. 4u cannot subtract with 9. They are not like terms. So that means we are forced to distribute. 2 times 4u is 8u. Copy down that minus sign. 2 times 9 gives us 18. And then we have 17, which we haven't touched yet. We have two operations to undo. We're going to start by undoing the subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. And then when we add 17 and 18, we get we get 35. Where's my eraser? There it is. So we'll get 35. The last step that we want to do is we want to divide by 8 to undo that multiplication. And then we can just leave it as 35 over 8. Some people have this need to make a decimal out of it or make it a mixed number. That's fine. It's also usually in algebra, it's generally okay to just leave it as improper fractions. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, I'll do one more. If you haven't already, you could just copy the problem down, hit pause, do it yourself, and then hit play to make sure you got it. And that way you can kind of know that you're in a good spot. The next topic after this one that you might want to try would be kicking it up a big notch. It's when you have variables on both sides of the equation. That's usually the next logical step in algebra. So let's do 2 times 3y plus 8 equals 70. Again, we look in the parentheses. 3y and 8 are not like terms. They cannot be added. So we have to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. 2 times 3y is 6y. Copy the plus sign. 2 times 8 is 16. We look on the left-hand side for any addition or subtraction to undo, and we have some addition. So we will use subtraction. The positive 16, negative 16 cancel to 0, leaving us with 6y. 70 take away 16 gives us 54. And then our last step is to undo this multiplication with division. The 6's will cancel or reduce to 1, leaving the y by itself, and 54 divided by 6 is 9. Great, I hope this helped, and if you still need help, you're not quite understanding it, find me and I'll give you a hand.